You started something new. Maybe it's a creative business, a new skill, a side hustle, whatever it is, you're excited. You've watched the videos all on YouTube, you've read the articles, and maybe even dropped some cash on a course or two. You are pumped. Then reality hits. Instead of making rapid progress, you feel stuck. You're overthinking every little step. You doubt yourself. You keep tweaking and editing, researching, doing everything except making the actual progress. Hey, welcome to beginner hell. The frustrating stage where you feel like you're spinning your wheels, unsure how to move forward. You know what? I know this feeling all well too well. When I started Blakebill, I fell into the same trap. I had the idea, I knew I could get freelancers and creatives to get paid instantly for the work, but instead of just launching something simple, I kept getting lost in the noise. Should I perfect the branding? Should I read more about SaaS marketing? Should I wait until I have the perfect product? Turns out none of that mattered. It wasn't making progress because I was avoiding the uncomfortable part, which was actually putting my work out there. If you're stuck in beginner hell, yeah, I've got some good news. There is a way out. And it's not about working hard, consuming more information, or waiting until you feel ready. It's about shifting your focus from learning to doing, from preparing to executing. Let's talk about how to actually escape and start seeing results. Stop collecting and start creating. One of the biggest traps that keep people stuck in beginner hell is the endless cycle of consuming information without actually doing anything. It's easy to convince yourself that when you're making progress, you're reading books, watching tutorials, or even listening to podcasts. You feel productive because you're learning, but herein lies the problem. Learning isn't the actual same as doing. We tell ourselves that we just need one more course or one more book or one more piece of advice on where to start. But the truth is, no amount of knowledge will ever make you feel fully prepared. You're always going to feel like you don't know enough. And the real learning happens when you actually start creating, failing, figuring things out along the way. Think about it. How do people actually get good at something? A great musician doesn't just read about music theory, they play their instrument every day. And a skilled designer doesn't just watch tutorials, they design things, they get the feedback, and they improve. An entrepreneur doesn't just take business courses, they launch something, they make the mistakes, and then they refine their approach. The only way to get better is to get your hands dirty. And if you want to be a writer, don't spend months researching the perfect writing method. Just start publishing. If you want to build a business, stop consuming endless content on startups, launch something. Even if it's messy. If you want to be this content creator, you don't just overthink your first post, just hit publish and improve from there. I fell into this trap when I was building Blakebill. I wanted to help freelancers get paid instantly for their work, but instead of focusing on launching, I got stuck into researching. I read books about SaaS business models. I compared dozens of payment platforms and then studied competitors. Sure, it was useful, but it wasn't actually getting me closer to actually launching. It wasn't until I forced myself to stop consuming and start creating that real progress actually happened. I built the first version, I got the feedback, and I improved over time. If I had waited until I actually felt ready, I'd probably be still researching today. The key is to trust that you'll learn as you'll go. You don't need all the answers before you start. In fact, you can't have all the answers until you actually start doing the thing. The sooner you start, the sooner you'll hit roadblocks, and then the sooner you'll figure out how to overcome them. That's where real progress happens, not by collecting knowledge, but by applying it. So here's the challenge. Let's stop reading, let's stop researching, let's stop overthinking, and let's just start. No, your first attempt won't be perfect. It'll be rough, it'll be awkward, but it'll be full of mistakes, and that's exactly how it should be. The faster you start, the faster you'll improve. Once you shift from passive learning to active doing, you'll never look back. Lower the bar a lot. Another big reason people get stuck in beginner hell is because they set this bar way too high from the start. They have this idea that their first attempt needs to be great. So their first YouTube video needs to be like viral worthy, and their first business model needs to be perfectly branded. Hey, their first blog post needs to be big and profound. And because they want it to be amazing, they never actually start. Perfection isn't a high sign of standards. It's actually a defense mechanism. It keeps you from failing by stopping you from trying in the first place. If you never start, you never risk making something mediocre. But the catch is this. Everything you make at the beginning will be mediocre, and that's just how it works. Nobody is great at something on their first try. Even the people you admire, your favorite creators, your entrepreneurs, artists, they all had their first attempts. The difference is they didn't let that stop them. They started anyway, knowing that the only way to get good is by making a lot of bad first. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or potential. They fail because they expect themselves to be amazing from day one. And when they're not, they get discouraged, they get quiet, and they quit. The reality is, being bad at something is a necessary step to being good at it. The faster you accept that, the faster you're going to improve. So, what does lowering the bar actually mean? It means giving yourself permission to start small, start messy, and start before you feel ready. It means focusing on getting reps instead of getting things perfect. If you want to start that YouTube channel, don't try to make a high production masterpiece. Like, record a simple video with your phone and upload it today. If you want to start that business, don't spend months perfecting a website. Just get that one paying customer and improve from there. And if you want to write a book, don't wait until you have the perfect plot. Just write this terrible first draft, edit it later. Lowering the bar doesn't mean lowering the quality of your work forever. It means giving yourself the freedom to start badly so you can improve quickly. It's about realizing that progress happens through iteration, not through perfection. The first version of anything is just a stepping stone. And you know what a useful trick? Reframe your mindset. Instead of asking, how can I make this perfect? Ask, what's the simplest version that I can put out today? Instead of saying, I need to be great at this, say, I just need to show up and do the thing. When you take the pressure off, you start moving faster. And when you start moving faster, you start improving faster. Quantity over quality at first. If you want to escape beginner hell, there is one rule that will get you out faster than anything else. Make more things faster. Most beginners get stuck because they focus on quality too soon. They obsess over making their first attempt perfect, believing that if they put in enough time, thought, and effort into it, they can skip the bad phase and just go straight to greatness. But here's the truth. You don't get to good without going through the bad first. Perfectionism tells you that every piece of work needs to be amazing before you release it. But the reality is your earlier work won't be amazing no matter how much time you spend on it. The only way to improve is through repetition, by doing something over and over until you get better at it. The more you create, the faster you improve. There's this famous story about a photography class that perfectly illustrates this. The professor divided the students into two groups. One group was graded on quality. They only had to submit one perfect photo at the end of the semester. The other group was graded on quantity. They were told to take as many photos as possible with no requirement for perfection. So who do you think ended up taking the best photos? The quantity group. Why? Because while the quality group spent months overthinking and planning, the quantity group was constantly doing, learning, adjusting, and improving. By the time the semester ended, they had produced some really great work. Not because they had aimed for perfection, but because they had gone through enough repetitions to improve naturally. The same principle applies to everything. If you want to get good at something, focus on producing a high volume of work rather than stressing about making each piece perfect. If you want to be this great writer, you don't spend weeks and weeks agonizing over one article. You write 10 rough drafts and then let your best work emerge. If you want to start a business, you don't wait to have that perfect product. You launch something simple, you get feedback, and then you iterate fast. Again, and if you want to make videos, you don't obsess over perfect lighting and editing. You hit record and then you improve over time. Another key reason to focus on quantity is that it removes the fear of failure. If you only allow yourself one shot, the pressure is enormous. But if you commit to creating a lot, many blog posts, many designs, many business ideas, each individual attempt feels less important, which makes it easier to just keep going. Most people assume that the way to improve is to slow down and make each thing as good as possible, but it's actually the opposite. You improve faster by making more things faster. The goal is to speed run the beginner phase so you can start making great work sooner instead of delaying the process by overanalyzing each step. Real feedback, not just from yourself. One of the biggest mistakes creators make is working in isolation, creating, practicing, and refining their work without ever showing it to anyone. It feels safer to keep things private, to wait until you feel ready to perfect everything before putting it out into the world. But the hard truth, you'll never feel ready. And the only way to improve at anything, whether it's writing, designing, launching a product, or starting a business, is to put your work out there and actually get real feedback from real people. When you work alone for too long, you fall into one of two things. You think that your work is better than anything else, and you get a harsh reality check when you finally share it. And two, you think your work is worse than it actually is, and then you hold yourself back from opportunities you're actually ready for. Both are dangerous. And the only way to escape these blind spots is to get outside your own head and see how your work actually performs in the real world. Think about this. If you're writing a book, how long should you wait before letting someone read it? If you're designing a product, when should you start getting user feedback? If you're launching a business, when should you ask potential customers for what they actually need? The answer is as soon as possible. The sooner you share your work, the sooner you get real world insights that can help you improve. The key is to stop guessing and start testing. The longer you wait to get real feedback, the longer you'll stay stuck second guessing yourself. The sooner you put your work out there, the faster you'll learn, improve, and actually make progress. So stop hiding doubting, stop overthinking, share what you've got and get feedback, and then use it to level up. That's how you escape beginner hell and then start creating work that actually matters. Stop changing directions too fast. One of the biggest reasons people stay stuck in this beginner hell is because they keep changing directions too soon. It's easy to get excited about something new. You know, a business idea, a creative project, a skill you want to master, and dive in with full energy, convinced that this is the thing that will finally take off. But when progress feels slow, when the results don't come in as fast as you hoped, or when the initial excitement fades, the doubts start creeping in. Maybe you picked the wrong niche. Maybe there's a better strategy out there. Maybe this isn't what you're meant to do. And just like that, you start looking for something else, a new distraction that feels fresh and full of possibility. This cycle repeats. Start, struggle, doubt, abandon, repeat. The problem isn't the path you choose. The problem is that you're not staying on it long enough to actually get anywhere. Success in anything is a long game. The people who make it look easy, who seem to have everything figured out, aren't necessarily more talented or smarter than you. They're just the ones who stuck with it. They pushed through the slow, frustrating middle phase where most people grew up. They kept refining their craft, kept putting themselves out there, they kept improving until suddenly they weren't beginners anymore. The only way to get past the struggle of being a beginner is to stay long enough to stop being one. Every skill, business, creative endeavor has a steep learning curve, and most people quit it before they even get past the hard part. They don't realize that there were just a few more steps away from it being a major breakthrough. The illusion of quick success is everywhere. Social media feeds are full of people who seem to have built an audience overnight, started a thriving business in a matter of months, or mastered a skill effortlessly. But what you don't see is the years they spent behind the scenes, making mistakes, learning, and improving before they actually got to the point where it looked easy. The frustration you feel right now, they felt it too. The difference is they kept going. If you're serious about breaking out of beginner hell, you have to stop resetting every time things get tough. Every time you start over, you go back to zero. You rob yourself of momentum, you waste the effort you've already put in. Instead of constantly questioning whether you picked the right thing, commit to it for long enough to actually see progress. Give yourself a set amount of time, 90 days, 6 months, a year, where you don't let yourself switch paths. You can pivot, you can adjust, but you just don't abandon ship just because it's harder than you thought. Most breakthroughs happen just beyond the point where you're tempted to give up. The ones who succeed aren't the ones who never struggle. They're the ones that push through the struggle instead of running from it. If you always jump to something new when things get tough, you'll stay stuck in the endless cycle of starting over. The real secret to success isn't finding the perfect idea, the perfect strategy, or the perfect skill. It's choosing something and sticking to it long enough to make it work. Progress comes from time, consistency, and repetition. The only way out is through. Actions is the only escape. Beginner hell is frustrating, but there's only one way out. Action. Not learning, not planning, just doing the thing badly at first, consistently over time, and improving along the way. Stop waiting to feel ready. Lower the bar and just start. Focus on quantity over perfection, and then get real feedback. Stick with it long enough to see the progress. And that's it. That's how you break free. Now stop listening to me. Go make something.